Welcome into the welcome into the rant. It's gonna take time. It's gonna take time for me to get the new name. Welcome into the rant. We do this every Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Typically 12 today. It's 12:10 as I look at the clock. No, hold on. We do this. The dog is already causing problems. Every day we start the show, the dog sits. She likes to watch the show. I don't know what she's watching. What do you think a dog thinks is going on here? You know what I mean? Like when all she does is you ever seen a dog just bark at the wall? Did you ever seen a dog just stare at the wall and start barking? And you're like, what the hell is she? It must be very much the same thing for the dog. When the dog looks at me doing this, because I don't think the dog has any concept of the internet or streaming or communication in this way. I can't even get the dog to look at the TV when I want it. Do you ever do that? You ever try to make your dog look at the TV? And then you're reminded in the moment that this isn't a substitute for actual human companionship. This is an animal that's really stupid. You're like, look at the TV. And you point, and the dog looks at you. And you're like, no, there. And you point. And like I don't know about you, but whenever I point at something for my dog, what my dog does is focuses on the finger. It doesn't look at where it's pointed. It just goes, oh. Anyway, CeeLo's the dog. She's settled in. She's had a problem these past couple of days. She's a butt licking dog. Past couple of days, she's really gotten heavy into the butt licking scene. There she goes. She's butt licking just on cue. There she goes. Something's wrong, man. Last night I took one of them back scratchers. Those wooden back scratchers that are really good for getting right down in there. The other day I took a back scratcher. And last night I took a back scratcher and I pinned her down on the ground. She'll lay friendly. But she laid her down on the ground and I took the back scratcher and I got in her little butt region, not in the butt. That would be weird, but right around it, right around where she seems to be focused. And if I'm being honest, it's not her butt. It's where her tail meets her spine. And I got right in there with that thing. And I'm like, and I'm scratching and her leg is going. I mean, this feels so good to her. And I did it for a good couple of minutes. And at some point you start thinking, am I rubbing her raw? Like, is all the skin going to be gone? Is she now going to be in pain when I stop? So I stopped. I'm like, all right, that ought to suit her for a second. So I get up off the floor and I get back on the couch and I get the TV back on. And immediately she starts going after her butt again. She's right back in there. And I'm like, dude. So I don't know. It's concerning. It's not an all the time thing. It's just it's not like for the past 24 hours she's been looking at her butt. No, but it's like, a couple times an hour for about 45 seconds. She'll just go nuts on her own ass. And it's like, what is happening here? You know what did work? I sprayed her butt. I sprayed like around her butt and on her right in that area with some of that. It's not solar cane, but it's like if you got sunburn, it's like for a rash and for an itch and sunburn too. Sprayed that on her. That worked. But I don't know if she was avoiding licking it now because it had chemicals all over it, or if because those chemicals were actually soothing her discomfort. I don't know. Let's say hi to the chat room. We've got Leslie in the chat room. We got Peter in the chat room. We got Fast hanging out. We've got Jimmy Smells, Pete. Let me keep going back. Let me see who else is here. I saw there were people gathering in the chat room before we got started. From the beginning, I saw Jen. I saw Barney. This is like the old romper room. I see April. I see Hugh. Let's see. Who else do I see here? I mentioned Barney, right? I see Barney. All right, everybody, gather into the chat room. Chat room's a fun place for discussion. What is this show, The Rant? Well, it's me. It's a narcissistic middle-aged man staring into a camera at noon every day, screaming about the world he has zero control over. That's who I am. And you good folks, you've been here every day for 3 years. Thank you so much. 3 years now we've been doing this. What is this? Well, as I said, aside from the fact that it is the aforementioned middle-aged narcissistic man, it's also a rundown of all the day's hot topics, headlines, current events, whatever it is that people are talking about. If it's happening in the world today, I'm going to give it to you. We do the show in 4 quarters, four different segments. The first one we call that Antecedently on This Day. That's just history. That's just what happened on this day. Hey, anything interesting happened on this day? And let me tell you, stay tuned. It did. Quarter 2 is birthdays. Birthdays, that's, you know what that is, people's birthdays. If you don't know what that is, come on. Third quarter, that's a little thing we call deads, or I call it deads. It's the dead list. It's people who died on this day. And what we do is we look at them and we go, what do we know about these people? And then we decide, heaven or hell, love it. The deads, that's quarter 3. All right, that's the first 3 things that we do in the show that it shouldn't take up more than 45 minutes or so, but it sometimes runs longer. The bulk of the show is quarter 4. That is quarter 4, the hot topic segment, everything that's happening, the headlines, the hot topics, the trends. If people are discussing it on this very day, that's what we get into there. So let's get started. It is the rant for the 25th day of June, year of our Lord 2024. The 25th day of June is the 177th day of the year. 177 of these. 189. See, there's a very important line of demarcation that we're going to be crossing here soon. And what that line is it's the day of the year. And I don't know, some of you nerds, you can go do the math. You can figure it out, but I'm going to wait for it to happen. There is a day of the year where we will no longer. All right, so like right now, we've got 177 days in, but we got 189 more to go. Like there's more to go. Like the year is not a loss yet. We've still got more days to go than days we squandered. But we're going to come to a point where that's going to change. That's going to change, and that's going to be a sad day. Or will it be the motivation we need to carry forward? All right, let's get started with today's rant. First quarter, as I said, ladies and gentlemen, antecedently on this day. Oh, it does need to be mentioned. That's right. This show runs on your tips, your gratuities, your kindnesses. Thank you. Anything you want. You want to drop something, you do that, Cash App, the Venmo, whatever. You can do that throughout the course of the show. That's how we've been running for 3 years. Every day, we like to award the big tipper of the previous day's show with what we call the executive producer title. Today, we have in the executive producer chair, let's see, we have nobody. That's okay. That's okay. Don't forget, if you do want to support this show, I'll be popping this up from time to time. If you want to drop a little something, that would be great. But right now, here we go, antecedently on this day. All right. These are events that have helped shape our understanding of this day. What is this day? What is this day? I know it's just June the 25th, but what have other episodes of June 25th been? Antecedently on this day in 1788, Virginia becomes the 10th state to ratify the United States Constitution. Welcome to the party, Virginia. Here's what's interesting about this. Virginia, when I think if somebody says the first state to do this, the first state to do that, I always think Virginia. But like Virginia is like ground zero for America. When I think of Virginia is like the state. Jefferson, right? Washington. I mean, the capital is there now. Virginia is the first state. It's the state. 10th? They were the 10th? 10th state to ratify the Constitution? What happened there? Antecedently on this day in 1876, the American Indian Wars. This was the Battle of Big Little Foot Horn Face. It's the Battle of Little Bighorn. 300 men of the U.S. 7th Cavalry Regime under Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer are wiped out by 5,000 Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho, led by Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse. Oh, man. That's like an all-star team of Injuns. Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse. I don't know anything about this. I know there's been a bunch of movies made about this. I know this is like a huge American history thing, the Battle of Little Bighorn. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a little, I've never been a big Western guy, so I can't even lean back on some movie I saw in 1976. But there you go. It was on this day, the Battle of Little Bighorn. Antecedently on this day in 1910, the United States Congress passes the Mann Act, which prohibits interstate transport of women or girls for immoral purposes. The ambiguous language would be used to selectively prosecute people for years to come. Ooh, the Mann Act. Oh boy. This is a situation where maybe there was a problem. We needed to take care of it and we needed to make a law or something like that. But then certain people got involved with evil intentions and they took control of it. And yeah, people thought this was a good idea on paper until we learned how it was used in purpose. And actually, if you want to go back even further, we talked about this just a couple of weeks ago. We talked about when we were discussing Jack Johnson, the former heavyweight champion of the world. We covered his birthday a couple of weeks back. And I told you about how this is the reason that we had that Mann Act. Jack Johnson was a black heavyweight champion of the world. And guess what? He liked more than being heavyweight champion of the world. He liked white women. Who doesn't, right? So that was a problem back in like 08, whenever this was all going on. So literally the Mann Act was created to stop black men from traveling across. If a black man and a white woman, there's a lot of states that are right there on the border. There's a lot of states where, you go to breakfast in a different state because you live on the other side of the border. It's very common. It was a way for, federal and local governments to enforce segregated dating. They didn't like that Jack Johnson was going to boxing matches, bringing a girl he met in New York to a match in Chicago, right? So that now suddenly became a crime, and it was the Mann Act on this day. There you have it. It would be, I don't even know if the Mann Act is still actively, it's become so many different things. It's been changed over the years to adapt to times. The most recent understanding I have of what the Mann Act today is, it's because the wording's been changed. They vote on it all the time. They change wording. But now it's about like the slave trade, like white slavery, like international and global and all that. I don't know. You can look it up. Anyway, it was on this day that it was first created, and it was created to stop black dudes from dating white women. On this day, antecedently in the year 1943, the Holocaust. Oh, this is the day of the Polish ghetto uprisings. Yeah, the ghetto. First of all, that's a fun one. Ghetto, that's here in American nomenclature. The ghetto is an urban word. Ghetto. It's like, oh, you're ghetto. Well, it's not. It's a Yiddish word. It's a Jewish word. It was a word that was meant to describe the squalid living conditions that Jewish people in Poland were forced into after Hitler came to power, and they were the Polish ghettos. And it was on this day in 1943 that they'd had enough. And there's big uprising, and it was a great moment for the Jewish resistance in an otherwise awful time. Antecedently on this day in the year 1947. Book was published. Book was published on this day in 1947, A Diary of a Young Girl. And it would go on to be like the biggest and most important, one of the most important books of the century, A Diary of a Young Girl. You've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. But we've all read it because they renamed it The Diary of Anne Frank. Published on this day in 1947. Antecedently on this day in 1976, Missouri Governor Kit Bond issues an executive order. This is okay. So 1976, this is a governor in Missouri. I'm thinking this is going to be crazy. I'm thinking this can be a crazy executive order. Although I don't know, man. 76, I was a kid. Missouri seemed fairly normal. Let's see. Missouri Governor Kit Bond issued an executive order rescinding the extermination order. Formerly, oh, I know what this is. Oh, okay. All right. It's performative that you have to do it, but, I guess for history's sake, you want to get it on the books, right? So here's what this is about. So back in the day, the Mormons were like the Jews of the Midwest, the most persecuted religious sect there was. Then nobody wanted any Mormons coming around. Oop, hold on. What is that? That is an alert? I don't know what that is. Anyway, so in Missouri, the governor at the time, and this is like in the 18 old timies, the governor in Missouri, he issued an order to exterminate all the Mormons. All the Mormons were to be removed from the state of Missouri. I'm the governor of Missouri. It's 18 old timey. If you are Mormon, I decree you are not welcome here. I mean, forget about how many challenges to that there could be in court. I mean, a governor can't do that. I mean, if you want to do that kind of shit, governor, you got to get out of these here United States because, that's not how we roll. So he did that back in the 18 old timies. He basically just said, all right, all the Mormons got to go. And if they don't go, you can kill them. You can exterminate them. That was a law. And the governor did it. This country's nuts. Stop acting like everything Trump does is like, yeah, it's unheard of. No, it's not. We used to do this kind of shit all the time. Anyway, okay, so in 76, Kit Bond, the governor, she issued an order rescinding the Extermination Act. And she formally apologized on behalf of the state of Missouri for the suffering it had caused to members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There you go. Yeah, the Mormons. Mormons were like prairie Jews. They were people, all around the globe, man. The Jews, people just for some reason, they persecute them throughout time. That's exactly how the Mormons did it. That's how the Mormons went through, like in the Midwest. But in fairness, with all due respect to members of Jesus Christ and Church of Latter-day Saints, okay, with all due respect, and I mean this sincerely, weren't you guys like founded in the 50s, right? Weren't you in like 1950s or no, that's Scientology. Don't you guys just like out history Scientology by like 50 years or something like that? It's not as, it's like the Mormons, that's a new thing. And forgive me, I don't consider new things a religion. I consider more of a club, more of a group, more of a club you can join. But, a religion for me, you got to be mentioned in that book that's like 10,000 years old. You got to be not mentioned, or at least you got to have comparable resources, right? You got to go back to at least times when your book was like the Torah or the Bible or the what is it called? What's the other one? God, I don't want to get this on the Quran. There you go, Quran. I mean, I think like the Mormon Bible, it could have been published in the Saturday Evening Post. That doesn't seem like a religion to me. That seems, okay, so there you go. Anyway, from the time they stood up and said, we're a religion now, people were like, no, you're not. Antecedently on this day in 1978, the rainbow flag representing gay pride is flown for the first time during the San Francisco Gay Freedom Day Parade. It's a very sad day. It's a very sad day for the rest of us. It's Victory Day for the gays. Happy Victory. Happy Victory Days. I don't want to us and them this whole situation, but it is kind of a sad time for us. The rest of us who can no longer appreciate the rainbow flag without, being like, what are you, gay? I mean, that shouldn't matter. Doesn't matter to me. But this is the day the gays stole the rainbow. They stole the rainbow from us. They did. This happens from time to time. Groups just, abscond with something that was otherwise in the public domain. The smiley, no, anybody run off with the smiley face? Like, is that associated with, look at the swastika. The swastika is a really cool image. I mean, objectively, that's like kind of badass, right? Not anymore. Because one group ran off with the swastika and now suddenly that's theirs. It's kind of like the rainbow. And I'm not saying, this is not an anti-gay thing. Hey, you know me, I'm Johnny Prideful. I got no problems. I just, now here's the thing. I'll give you a story. Okay. Here's where this whole thought process, this isn't new. I'm not freeballing this. I've been thinking about this for a long time. Back in the day, about 10 years ago, I had a Volkswagen Touareg, one of those SUVs. Oh, I love that Touareg, man. It's basically a Porsche Cayenne. It's the exact same car. It's made on the same production line. They just slap a Porsche medallion on one and they slap a, Touareg on the other. Of course, the Porsche's got the better engine, but still the outside, they look the same. I loved my Touareg. Dick Hunter, remember Richard Hunter? You guys around here, Dallas radio people, you remember Big Dick Hunter, Richard Hunter? He's awesome. One of my favorite talk show hosts of all time. He thought it would be funny to take a rainbow pride sticker and attach it to the back of my Touareg, right? And he did it. And because I parked my Touareg, I back into my spot, and he always made fun of that. He said, "You back into your spot," so I almost never, see it at work. So I wouldn't have seen it the first time, but I saw it the minute I got home, and I'm like, "Oh, rainbow flag thing," and I knew immediately who had done it. I knew that this was some combination of Eric. This may have been Eric and Turley. This may have been Dick Hunter acting alone. It sure as hell wasn't Kelly. Yeah, I knew it wasn't her, but I knew it was, and I had narrowed it down to believing that it was Richard Hunter. And so I just left it. I left it on there. I left it on there. And days went by and I waited them out. I waited for them to say something, and then nobody ever said anything. And I left it there. And I had it there. And then one time in conversation, just casual conversation, I guess pride was the subject. And Richard Hunter on one of our shows said, and this is like probably 6 weeks after he put the pride sticker on my car, like 6 weeks later, we're having this conversation on the air, and he goes, "Well, you know, Pugs is really prideful. He's even got a flag sticker that he flies." And without missing a beat, I go, "Yeah, I do. It's on my Touareg. I love it. I drive it proudly." And I stared right at Dick on the air, and he looked back at me and he goes, "How long have you known?" And I go, "The day you put it on." And then I turned it. I flipped the script. I said, why was that a prank? And he's like, "Well, I just thought it was funny." Well, why did you think it was funny? And then Richard Hunter, Dick Hunter's a very smart guy. Then he realized where this was going. So he got he's like, "Well, I think I applaud you. I applaud that you weren't rattled by it. I guess I thought lesser of you." And so is that. But do you see what I mean? They stole the rainbow on this day. Gay pride stole the rainbow from regular people who just, don't want their sexuality not questioned, don't even want it to be a part of the equation. If I couldn't run down the street in a rainbow t-shirt now without somebody going, "I know what that guy's about." I also couldn't run down the street in a swastika t-shirt without someone going, "Yeah, I know what that guy's about." I don't know. I'm glad. Look, they're having fun with the rainbow. They're doing more with the rainbow than I was, quite honestly. I mean, if I'm going to be straight about it, I shouldn't be upset about it. They seem to be really using it. I didn't really use the rainbow at all. Maybe on cupcakes. I don't know. It's not like, but once it was gone, I thought, hey, look, now that's gone. Moving on. Antecedently on this day in 1997, the National Hockey League approved expansion franchises for the following cities. Here you go. This is the day we had the, what do they call it? The World Series of Hockey. Didn't that end yesterday? Look, I would know hockey if I had to do sports talk radio. If I had to do sports talk radio, I have enough of a passing interest in hockey that I could fake it. I could get myself prepped up in a week or two. I could figure out the league. That's not a problem. But I don't know. Apparently, it was a big hockey game yesterday. Anyway, it was on this day in 1997, the National Hockey League approved. It wasn't a team from Florida, which is like, you shouldn't be good at hockey, against a team from Canada, right? I don't know. I think it was. I don't know anything about it. But look, if the gods are right and true, then the team from Canada should have won. But I don't know. I don't know. I should look that up. All right, I'm going to look it up. All right. Because now I got to know. I'll just put Stanley Cup, see who won it. You guys in the chat room already know. It must be funny because you're watching. Panther, Florida. Their gods are not true. Look at that. Florida won last night. The Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. Anyway, it was on this day that all the nonsense like Florida having a hockey team began, although they're not mentioned here. I guess Florida came after this or maybe before. In 1997, the National Hockey League approved expansion. It's my Chicago accent. Approved expansion franchises for Nashville. The Thrashers. I remember the Nashville Thrashers. Not anymore. We don't remember the Nashville Thrashers. Well, the Winnipeg Jets. I know that. See, I don't know like who won the game, but I know like the news and stuff. Like I can talk about that stuff. All right. No, Atlanta Thrashers, Nashville Predators. So we got Nashville in 98, Atlanta Thrashers, who are now Winnipeg, Columbus, the Crew. I don't. Columbus. I mean, I understand why. I mean, if any city in Ohio should have major league teams, I believe it should be Columbus. It's the most cosmopolitan. I think it's the second biggest. It might even be the biggest. Is Columbus in the Columbus metro area? Is that bigger than Cleveland? It might be. Columbus is huge, but I don't know, hockey team. Okay, it's Ohio. Do lakes freeze in Columbus? Ohio State, it's cold. I don't know, man. Whatever. And Minneapolis, St. Paul, they got a hockey team because of course they should get a hockey team. There you have it. The Minnesota Wild. They got the Minnesota Wild. Why? Because we down here in Dallas, we stole the Minnesota North Stars and we renamed them the Dallas Stars. Let's do some birthdays. I need a drink. Hi, Cam. Cam's in the chat room. Al. Frankie B. All right, chatters, let's go. Birthday time. They say it's their birthday. Here we go. Born on this day in 1903, George Orwell. George Orwell. He wrote the best Van Halen album. Born on, come on, Animal Farm. Very cool. When I was younger, when I was in high school, I really liked George Orwell. Well, when was 1984? Because I got really into George Orwell in the year 1984. Why? Because we were required to read 19. So I was in high school. Yeah. But then I on my own, I read Animal Farm. He was trippy. Orwell was trippy. I don't know. I can't really. That society that it wasn't even dystopian. It was totalitarian that he created in 1984. Never came to be, obviously. And Orwell, there you go. I got nothing else. I'm trying to riff on Orwell. I'm trying to think. Any fun facts do I know about him? No. What do I remember from? I can't just talk about Winston, right? I can't just. I don't know what is. All right, so there we have it. That's a book review of 1984 from me. Animal Farm was cool because it had talking animals. That one's cool. About a revolt, about communism and socialism and labor and all that stuff. That one's pretty cool. If I'm being honest, I think I liked Animal Farm much more than I liked 1984. George Orwell, born on this day in 1903. Born on this day in 1924. Here's a guy. We're going to take a moment and we're going to do something that we haven't done on this show in a good couple of weeks. It used to be a staple. It is a staple. Hell, you don't have to do it every day for it to remain a beloved part of this extravaganza. Ladies and gentlemen, let's do a draft. Ladies and gentlemen, let's do a director draft. You know how I love my directors. I love to take my directors. I love to talk about them. I love to talk about their movies. Let's do a Sidney Lumet draft. Sidney Lumet was born on this day in 1924. Now, I don't think people really know who Sidney Lumet is. I think that there is a certain level of being a cinemaphile where you hear the name Sidney Lumet and you immediately know that he's a revered director and you go, oh yes, of course. But you don't necessarily equate him with a film or genre or anything like that. And that's too bad. Because for my money, I got Kubrick, okay? I got Scorsese, I got Tarantino, and I got Lumet. Sidney Lumet made two films that affected me as much as any other single film ever has in movie history. So yes, he is in my list. Let's do a Sidney Lumet draft. Born on this day in 1924. You're going to hear these movies and you're going to go, wait, the same guy did all of those? And I'm going to be like, yeah. And he was quiet about it. He wasn't like Mr. Hollywood showbiz guy. I want to be on the camera. I want everybody to talk about me. No, Sidney Lumet was quiet about his success. Number one, the first movie that I'm going to take in the Sidney Lumet film draft is Network. Network. I just said two films on this list. Two films on this list have affected me in a way that no other films have. Well, two of them on this list are so good that they're some of the most impactful films that I've ever seen. I don't know how to word it, but whatever. Network is that film. Network, the two most impactful films that I can remember off the top of my head are one, Dr. Strangelove, two, Network. Bam! If you've never seen Network, you need to see Network. There is so much from the film Network that has just permeated our everyday society. Well, case in point, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. That whole thing. Screaming that. Just Network. Number one in my Sidney Lumet draft. Network. Script Screenplay by Patty Chayefsky. Come on, man. Directed by Sidney Lumet. Come on, man. Number two in the Sidney Lumet draft. We're going to go a little bit deeper back into his film history. 1970s is later. Network was later Sidney Lumet. Let's go early Sidney Lumet. This film was the first movie, and this is the second one where I say these are two movies that affect me. This is like the first drama film that I think I ever remember seeing and thinking, okay, because it was simple, because it was just really easy to understand. And I think I saw this when I was 5 or 6 years old with probably my grandma or something. 12 Angry Men, like the original one. With George C. with Patton all pissed off and Henry Fonda. 12 Angry Men. First drama movie I ever remember seeing where I was like, oh, I guess I just don't like Three Stooges or Little Rascals anymore. Number 3 off the board in the Sidney Lumet film draft, Failsafe, which is another one of my Cold War men. Failsafe always come on my list. We did a list on the old Pugs and Parker show. I think, no, it was before that. Anyway, it was my Cold War film list because I'm always looking for an excuse to talk about Dr. Strangelove, and that is, of course, number 1 on that list. But number 2 or number 3 on that list is always Failsafe. Sidney Lumet's Failsafe. So now I don't know if you know the story of Failsafe. Failsafe was a very big movie in the 1960s, but it was released like a couple of months after Dr. Strangelove. Kubrick put out Strangelove. It became the biggest movie in the world. And then Lumet releases Failsafe a couple of months later. It also becomes a huge movie. Kubrick looks at Failsafe and goes, that's a little bit similar in concept and in premise. See, Kubrick did, what was the book? I'm not sure what the book is. Kubrick took a book that was already written and adapted that book, Red Alert. I think it was called Red Alert. Kubrick took a book called Red Alert and adapted it into Dr. Strangelove. Took the book Red Alert, turned it into Dr. Strangelove in the way that only Stanley Kubrick could, right? It's a total one-off interpretation of that book. Sidney Lumet did the same thing with Red Alert, and he called his movie Failsafe. So you've got one book, you've got 2 movies dealing with the exact same source material that are envisioned by 2 brilliant directors in 2 completely different ways. That's why I love Failsafe. I love to watch Strangelove, and then you watch Failsafe, and you're like, that's the same story, but God, I seriously feel like I watched 2 completely different movies. Number 3 is Failsafe, Sidney Lumet. Number 4, Serpico, just because he invented the gritty 1970s cop movie genre. Serpico, Sidney Lumet. Number 5, Dog Day Afternoon. Attica. That's it. That's the 5-round Sidney Lumet draft. Network goes off the board first. 12 Angry Men second. Failsafe is third. Serpico is fourth. Dog Day Afternoon is fifth. But we are bringing some people, some films. We're going to do some camp invites, some non-drafted, undrafted free agent camp invites. How about, let's go back to the beginning of his career again. How about Long Day's Journey into Night? Oh, I don't know, just a classic Hollywood film. How about this one? How about The Fugitive Kind? My favorite Brando film. What about On the Waterfront? What about Streetcar? No, Brando, The Fugitive Kind. Sidney Lumet. That's badass. How about Sidney wanting to just mix it up a little and go, you know what? It's the 1970s. I'm feeling like I'm getting a little bit old. I need to do something the kids are going to love. How about Sidney Lumet's interpretation of The Wiz? He's on down. Whoa, The Wiz going to get a camp invite. This guy, I'm telling you, right? This guy, you're like, who's Sidney Lumet? And now you're hearing all these films that he directed and created. The Verdict. Paul Newman won an Oscar for The Verdict. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. That's one that he did at the very end of his life. I ended up seeing late at night one night, and the only reason I watched it was because it was a Sidney Lumet movie, and I was not disappointed. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. Also, another movie that I want to mention here, it also is going to get a camp invite. This came out in the 1980s. You may have never seen it. It was a small movie. Every time I run into somebody who has seen this movie or knows this movie, I'm like, oh, I like you. Let's talk. Sidney Lumet did a movie in the late 1980s called Power, and it starred Richard Gere. And for anybody who is a fan of, like, you know, the West Wing or political dramatizations or movies about politics, movies about, you know, that kind of thing, that how the sausage is made in Washington, that sort of thing. Power was like the first one. I'm a freak for that stuff. I'm a freak for that kind of content. But Power was the first one I ever saw in the 1980s. Richard Gere plays a political consultant in the 1980s, flying around on Lear jets and, you know, telling people to lie. And it was my first introduction to, this is how politics really is. This is what an election looks like when it's being run. Power also gets a camp invite. That would be the one that I would say, if you've never seen it, if you've never heard of it, I would see Power, because Power is so, it's so good and nobody's ever seen it. Anyway, there you go. Sidney Lumet draft. Born on this day in 1924. Born on this day in 1943. Happy birthday to Carly Simon. Oh, isn't she just a sweetheart? No, she's not. Carly Simon. Here's my bones with Carly Simon, okay? You know how I always tell you about, I got no hate for Nepo babies. Look, once you, look, the Nepo baby thing, Nepo, all of that stuff, I don't have a problem with it if they gain an advantage because of a birthright, right? And then get the job and crush. I got no problem. I got no problem with Colin Hanks. No problem at all. That dude's awesome. That dude's awesome in everything. I would expect his godfather to give him some sort of preferential treatment when he's 18 and decides he wants to act. You know what I mean? They know people. His dad's Tom Hanks. Do you know the people this dude has works in every single field? If you're in the auto parts game, you know, and you're the heir to an auto parts empire, you might actually meet, you know, I'm just saying, so I don't have a problem with that. Carly Simon, look, she turned out to be great, I guess. I don't know. You're So Vain is a good song. I don't know much about her. I just know that she comes from the Simon and Schuster publishing empire, and she was a super rich girl, and she grew up incredibly pampered. And it also bothered me that, like, for years, it was like she's not going to talk about who the You So Vain character is. And that always irritated me. And then it was always like, Carly Simon, she's not, I don't know. She's just, whatever. Massive star, icon of American sappy girl music from the 1970s. And look, this is not across the board because I love Carole King. Maybe this is what it's about. Maybe I just resent that Carly Simon sometimes gets, you know, credit. I think maybe if Carly Simon wasn't there, maybe Carole King would get more. I don't know. Born on this day in 1943, Carly Simon. Born on this day in 1947, Jimmy Walker, Kid Dynamite. Jimmy Walker had a, what is Jimmy Walker now? 1947, so he's 77 years old. Interesting to have been Jimmy Walker for the past 60 years. Almost 60 years, 50, 57, whatever. He was 20 years old. Jimmy Walker was 20 years old when he became the biggest television star in America. They plopped, he was a 20-year-old stand-up comic who got discovered and plopped onto Good Times. Jimmy Walker became super powerful. Jimmy Walker for about 5 years, man, he could get anything done in Hollywood that he wanted. That's how popular he was. His show was big, but above and beyond his show, he was just popular. Everybody liked Jimmy Walker. But that only lasted for about 5 years. And for probably the last 50 plus years of Jimmy Walker's life, he's been walking around as the guy that used to be Jimmy Walker. That's got to be weird, right? Like, he didn't die early like Gary Coleman, you know, or anything like that. He just stopped being anything that anybody cared about when he was like 24. And also, to his credit, Right? There's no trouble. There's no Jimmy Walker trouble, right? Like he didn't beat up prostitutes or, get caught doing meth in an alley. There was none of that nonsense with Jimmy Walker. I think that's probably because he made so much money. He was so bankable for like 5 years. Born on this day in 1947, Jimmy Walker. We should all have 5 years in the mid 1970s like Jimmy Walker once had. Born on this day in 1956. Here's a sad one. Here's a sad one that really, man, this one really made me pissed. This one really upset me. Like, not like, oh, boo-hoo, sad me, this person's dead. But just what the existential ramifications from this, what they could be to other people who maybe don't need this in their life right now. Born on this day, and I'll explain that a little bit more. Born on this day in 1956, Anthony Bourdain. Anthony Bourdain. Now, I love that guy. I read his book before I was a big fan of his TV show. Interviewed him on the phone a couple of times. It was always on the phone because I remember the second time it was like, you were on the phone last time, and now I know who you are, and now I want to get to know you a little bit. But he killed himself. Anthony Bourdain is a guy who killed himself. And the reason I say that was existentially troubling for a lot of people is because Anthony Bourdain's entire brand was that everyone was supposed to look at him and go, oh my God, I would love that life. That's what his brand was. Anthony Bourdain made millions and millions of dollars of traveling the globe first class, hanging out with the most interesting people on the globe, and then getting drunk and eating with them and just talking about everything. That's his brand. Everybody was supposed to look at that and go, how did he get that job? Boy, that's got to be the greatest job. And then he kills himself. He becomes the embodiment of that kind of aspiration. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we just could travel the world and have dinner with, fascinating people and talk and overdrink and dance? How great would that? That's what he had. And then he kills himself. It's just like, yes, of course. Mental illness does not, it doesn't look at bank accounts. It doesn't look at, your shiny new car in the driveway. It doesn't look at your beautiful wife. It doesn't. It's much more complicated than that, and people don't understand it. But Anthony Bourdain had spoken and written so eloquently about his own battles and about how he was able to turn his life around that he became more than just that guy that was really interesting and really cool on TV that so many people watched. But for people who read his book and were moved by his story and understood what he had been through because maybe they suffer similar things, for those people, he was a completely different person. And when he committed suicide, it was almost as if he sold that whole group of people out. There's a lot of anger for Anthony Bourdain among a lot of people. It's because of what he meant to a group of people who needed him to keep going. Anthony Bourdain was born on this day in 1956. Born on this day, let's loosen the load. Let's lighten it up a little bit, huh? What do you say? 1961, Ricky Gervais was born. Ricky Gervais. God, I love that guy. I don't know where he came from. I probably went 35 years of my life without even knowing there was a Ricky Gervais in it. And then suddenly Ricky Gervais pops up and I'm like, this is like the funniest person I've ever seen. I remember the first time I saw The Office, BBC, it was after I had already seen The American Office. I'd started to watch The American Office, and I thought that it was an incredibly creative and wonderfully unique show. And I knew that it was an adaptation of a British show, but I never thought in a million years that the British show could, I'm not going to say be better, because I hate that pretentious thing. Oh, the British Office is so much better. It's not better. It's different. It is different, and it is equally good. That's how I would say it. It's different. It's culturally different. How can you say you like the American? You know why you would say you like the American version better than the British version? Because you're American. Because you get every joke when watching the American version of The Office. You get every joke, you get every reference, you get every snide little, because the cultural references and the sticking points are all things that you're familiar with. You know, when they start talking about having eggy soldiers for breakfast on the British BBC, the American audience goes, "What the fuck are eggy soldiers?" Right? So that's it. But they're different shows, and they also come from different times, and I don't know. They're very funny. Ricky Gervais is hysterical. My favorite thing that Ricky Gervais did was a show. It was a follow-up show to The Office. I think he got a deal. This is not an HBO show. It might have been a Cinemax show. It might have even been a Showtime show, but it was called Extras. I don't know if you've ever seen Extras. Ricky Gervais's Extras. It was a series where he played an extra, a career extra. You know, a guy who was an extra in film shoots. So every episode took place on a film shoot with him and a band of extras who are always playing background guys or whatever. And the series also had big stars because they're on a fictional film set where like big stars are. So the big stars always interact with the extras. It's great show. Greatest series finale in the history of series finales is the Ricky Gervais Extras series finale movie. If you've never seen it, you're doing yourself a disservice. It is the greatest series finale I've ever seen. Ricky Gervais, happy birthday. Born on this day, 1961. Born on this day in 1975. This is so weird. Celebrating a birthday on the exact same day, 75. Born in 1975, Linda Cardellini. Born on this day in 1979, Bussy Phillips. Why is that interesting? Two of my favorite cast members from Freaks and Geeks. That's right, Linda Cardellini. Lindsay Weir from Freaks and Geeks. Born on this day in 1975. She would also go on to play Thelma, right? When they rebooted. She wasn't the gay Thelma. She was the 2005 Thelma, or like that era Thelma when they made it. I don't know. I never saw that Scooby. It was 2005. Okay, I didn't have kids yet. I wasn't going to a Scooby-Doo movie. If I did, again, think poorly of me. Anyway, Linda Cardellini, born on this day in 1975. Lindsay Weir from Freaks and Geeks. How about Bussy Phillips, born on this day in 1979? She was Kim Kelly. She was mean old Kim Kelly from Freaks and Geeks. She was the stoner chick, Kim Kelly. Lindsay Weir was the academic, the star mathlete, and all that good stuff. And Lindsay Weir, in her senior year of high school, decided she was going to start hanging out with the freaks. She used to be a geek, but now she's going to hang out with the freaks. And why? Because suddenly she became kind of hot. That is how do nerdy girls suddenly become, sitting at the cool kid lunch table? They grow boobs over summer. That's how it works. At least in my America, that's how it works. Linda Cardellini, that's her character. Lindsay Weir, she's the geek who becomes hanging out with the freaks. And Bussy Phillips is like the reigning freak princess, and she doesn't like the new competition. But they become good friends, and there you go. Now you don't have to watch the 13 episodes of Freaks and Geeks that aired. Freaks and Geeks, best TV show. There is no, they always have this list of shows that were canceled too soon. Don't even just call it the Freaks and Geeks list. Okay? Just call it the Freaks and Geeks list, and you don't even have to put Freaks and Geeks at number one anymore, because everybody knows that is the greatest show that never was. How embarrassing for NBC too, after they cancel it, and then you get to the Emmys and the Golden Globes, and freaking the show they canceled is winning everything. They're like, hey, that show is apparently really good. Sorry, NBC, because you know what happened? Actually, here's a fun little Freaks and Geeks story for you. NBC wanted to bring it back, like in relative short order. Like, they canceled it. And then like within the next 18 months, NBC wanted to bring it back. There was a real movement within NBC to admit they made a mistake and to bring it back. But Judd Apatow had apparently signed a deal with Fox. As soon as NBC canceled it, Fox came in and went, no. We were watching that series. That series is really good. We're going to sign you to a development holding deal. Now, I don't know what he ever did with Fox. Did it undeclared? Maybe it was undeclared. Maybe that's what he did. And then, there was even a movement to move forward without him. But all of the other actors that were on Freaks and Geeks by that point were starting to get work. And so they were like, yeah, no, we're not going to. Thank you. You didn't see it. Apparently, everybody else did. We're young actors. We're now just going to take all these movie roles that we're being offered for being on this incredibly good show that you people thought should be canceled. And that's how we got who, right? James Franco. Who's the other guy? Who the dude Marshall from How I Met Your Mother? He went on to do that. Jason Segel. That cast, man, that cast is just Seth Rogen. Of course, I forgot about Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen's like, yeah. Seth Rogen wrote a couple of the Freaks and Geeks episodes, his first writing job. Now we know what a prolific and incredibly gifted producer he is of television. That's where it all started. Seth Rogen was like, nah, I'm gonna do this. Got this. Got a movie where I'm gonna knock up Katherine Heigl. Nobody's gonna believe it, but it's gonna be a smash hit. What was that movie? Remember that movie? Seth Rogen got Katherine Heigl pregnant. What was it? Anyway, that was the big explosion in his career. All right, there you go. 2 birthdays. That's going to do it for the birthdays. Let's move on to the dead, shall we? These are the people who died. These are the people who died. This is people who died. Got myself in a verbal loop there. I couldn't get out. Dead on this day, preemptively. There you go. Preemptively, we're sending him to hell. Dead on this day in 1959, Charles Starkweather. Charles Starkweather, American spree killer. He was early to the game here in America now. Spree killers, nothing interesting about that. Back then, Charles Starkweather, he was your guy. He's going to hell. He's just a stupid hillbilly who just decided to kill a whole bunch of people in a bunch of different states by driving around and shooting at them. Dead on this day in 2003. Okay, here's something. We're gonna watch a little video here on this one. This is one of my favorite videos that's on YouTube. Because of it, it exemplifies. If it wasn't the anniversary of this guy's death, I could find any number of other reasons to make you watch this video just because I love this video. Let me get it queued up. YouTube's giving me a Joe Biden begging for money. Hold on, let's see. Here we go. Let's start it out about it. All right. Dead on this day in 2003, former governor of Georgia, Lester Maddox. Lester Maddox, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we got to decide where Lester Maddox goes. Personally, I don't think it's going to be that difficult of a decision because we have visual evidence of, the kind of person that he was. Lester Maddox he was a Democrat. He was a one of them racist Democrats back then. I mean, it's not the same Democratic Party, just as it's not. It ain't the same Republican Party that it was before 2016. So, parties change. Lester Maddox was a Democrat. Lester Maddox ran a grill in Atlanta, a restaurant, and he became famous in Atlanta for not letting coloreds in. He was one of them guys. Colors can't come into and he turned it into a big, local Atlanta thing, and lo and behold, he ran for governor, and oh my God, this dude became governor. And he don't like black people at all. And it's like 1973. So anyway, Lester Maddox, that's who he is. But Lester Maddox kind of enjoyed suddenly becoming a celebrity as the celebrity governor of Georgia. And again, this is like when, electing I'm not gonna say it's like electing Schwarzenegger, because Schwarzenegger was a real celebrity and Jesse Ventura was a real celebrity. This guy's just like a goofball, like a local goofball who somehow is now suddenly the governor, Lester Maddox. And he enjoyed it. So he used to go and he used to do TV shows. Like he'd go and he'd do talk shows. Now I want to show you this. This is why I say I might show you this even if it wasn't the anniversary of Lester Maddox's death. This is how cool ass TV shows used to be. You could never get. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of the reasons why this is so cool ass. This is Lester Maddox on the Dick Cavett Show from 1974. Now, I believe the Dick Cavett Show was on during the day. I think this was like middle of the day. And you have to understand what we didn't have. What we didn't have was cable TV with a whole bunch of different channels. What we didn't have was a bunch of apps with a whole bunch of fly-by-night groups like, Newsmax popping up and all that. We didn't have conversation going on everywhere. So the parts where we got conversation, we got such a mishmash of views and opinions and people. So I want to direct your attention to the panel here. This is the Dick Cavett Show having a nice conversation with racist Georgia Governor Lester Maddox, okay? Lester Maddox, who is seated next to outspoken and, in I'm sure Lester Maddox's viewpoint, radical NFL football legend Jim Brown. So you got Lester Maddox and Jim Brown. And then for some reason, for some just ungodly reason, just let's keep it interesting. And this is my point about TV in the 1970s. The third person up there is Truman Capote. Truman Capote, Jim Brown, and Lester Maddox on the Dick Cavett show, getting into a screaming match at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in 1974. Check this out. This is Lester Maddox. He died today. We have to decide if he goes to heaven or hell.
Mislead the people like that.
I didn't mean to mislead the people. It is a good question, though, isn't it?
Well, it's a good question, but for you to come back and call bigots my admirers is a farce. It's a act of hypocrisy. It's a terrible way to treat a guest on your show, and you know it. Huh?
You know he's right about that.
So basically what happened, here's what you need to know. Lester Maddox is upset because he thinks that Dick Cavett made the suggestion that his supporters, supporters of Lester Maddox, are bigots. Lester Maddox is angry. He wants Dick Cavett to apologize for suggesting that people who voted for Lester Maddox, a racist, are bigots. That's what we're watching. That's what this is.
Why don't you apologize to the people for calling people that are my admirers bigots?
Now, wait a minute. I'll take you half seriously on this, but I won't.
We got over 4 million people in Georgia that are my friends, and I call admirers, and you calling them all bigots.
No, I'm not.
Now, you apologize to them.
No, I won't.
All right.
Oh, no, don't. Please. No.
You better apologize.
Sit down. I'll explain it.
Look at Truman Capote just sitting there, just watching the bitch fight. He's just, he's going to write a whole book about it. Oh, no. Hold on. All right.
Let me see.
I'll answer his question when you apologize to people.
Let me see if I can focus in on that. If, in fact, I
got friends that are black and white and admirers, and they're none of them bigots.
May I now answer?
Yes, sir.
If I called any of your admirers bigots, who are not bigots, I apologize.
All right, that was pretty solid, man. That was, that's what Dick Cavett was known for. He was known for being really smart, really witty, really area. That was well played on his part.
All right. Please, your turn. Now let the governor answer. Please.
I wouldn't accept that on representing the people of Georgia under any circumstance. You're saying that some of them are bigots. If you can't be fair, if you can't be decent, you don't belong on television. I don't belong here with you.
I hope you'll stay. I don't. I know there are white bigots and there are black bigots.
Why don't you apologize to the people of Georgia, those friends of mine, for calling them bigots?
I think I made.
Now, either you do it, I'm going to leave now, Dick. Which one you want?
Wait a minute. Please don't leave.
Well, you apologize to the people of Georgia. And he owes them an apology, too. The only biggest that I know.
Wait.
You wait a minute. You wait a minute.
Okay. Jim Brown catching strays here from the racist governor of Georgia. Let's see how this plays out.
Wait a minute. The only biggest that ever I've been involved with came out of New York, New Jersey. The white ones that came from New York, New Jersey came down there and tried to destroy the South and tell lies about what's going on in our part of the country.
Okay, so what he's talking about right now is he's saying the only racists in Georgia are the Jews who came down in those buses from New York and New Jersey. He's talking about the Freedom Riders. He's talking about Mississippi burning. He's saying that those people are the only racist in Georgia.
Which is one of the leading parts of the country, moving forward in all areas today.
Uh-huh.
And the only biggest I've ever had to come in there were the white ones that came from your city and from New Jersey to try to wreck and destroy it. Now, Dick, I'm gonna give you 1 minute. to apologize to the people you call bigots in Georgia. I'm going to leave your show. Now, you do whatever you want to about it.
No, wait a minute. What are the terms? Wait a minute.
You got 1 minute to tell them that you don't call any Georgian a bigot.
How much time do I have?
Right. Please. Governor, I find you most interesting. You're a most interesting man. There's something likable about you at your most outrageous moments. And
what do you mean outrageous moments?
I honestly don't know how seriously to take you at
now,
this
why
moment
you talking
because
about
I don't think I have consciously offended anyone, and I didn't mean to. And if I have unconsciously offended anyone, then there's no need to apologize because it was an accident.
Well, tell him that you've made a mistake then.
I would say that I phrased the question in a way that was not exactly accurate in the sense that he did say bigots. Have any white bigots been upset because you have done certain things for the blacks?
But you came back and said my admirers, and you haven't apologized yet, and you got 15 seconds.
All right, now let me use those 15 seconds. I apologize for suggesting that a bigot would be the way of characterizing all of your admirers.
No, good night.
Wait a minute. There's more time.
Good night, sir.
I'm sorry the governor left. He may be back after this message. We will.
All right. There it is. So we're gonna put Lester Maddox in hell just because I already made up my mind on that. He's not a good dude. Couple of interesting things why I love that clip so much. One, you got to understand what time this was. This was the early 1970s. There were only 3 TV channels. That you were not guaranteed that if you said something here, you were not guaranteed that you would go on the street and just suddenly have to pay the price for whatever you said. People spoke more freely on television back then because there was no way, unless you heard it when they said it, you couldn't play it back. Hey, come listen to it. You couldn't like clip it and then send it on social media. So it was a little different. So people behaved differently and they spoke more authentically on television. What I loved about that was an authentic conversation between people being their authentic selves. That was who Lester Maddox was. You found that difficult, there was no awareness of the cameras the way we have now. We've been 30 years of reality TV. Every time somebody sees a camera, they know exactly how to react because they know exactly what the repercussions of it's going to be. Yeah, I'm playing to the camera. There was no such thing back then. I love those kinds of. What the fuck is Truman Capote doing there? That's the other thing. Lester Maddox goes to hell on this day. Dead on this day in 2009, preemptively going to heaven. Because angels go to heaven. See what I did there? Guess who I'm talking about? Farrah Fawcett. Farrah Fawcett died on this day in 2009. All right, let's look at Farrah Fawcett because this is interesting. So Farrah Fawcett, if you're Gen X like me, you're programmed. You're programmed to think, oh my God, Farrah Fawcett, gorgeous, right? Just because that's how it was. That's programming. That's what you remember. Let's look at Farrah Fawcett. Do we remember her? I mean, how beautiful was Farrah Fawcett? Because around 1980, oh my God, she was the embodiment of the perfect female specimen. Let's take a look at her. Let's see her. All right, here you go. Here's Farrah Fawcett. How pretty was she? Okay. She's pretty without a doubt, right? Farrah Fawcett's hot. But the toothy, she's got that, when she first burst on the scene, she had that overtly California girl look, the California beach girl. She's from Texas, though, of course. She's not from California. She's a Texas girl. She looks like Texas girls, but Hollywood decided that was a good representation for the quintessential California beach babe, and that's who she became. Okay, all right, the clothes aren't really flattering. That's not good, but she's beautiful. She's pretty. You know what I need? I need a side-by-side of her and Jacqueline Smith, because I think Jacqueline Smith, I've always felt that Jacqueline Smith was prettier than Farrah Fawcett. That poster. Yeah, where can we get that poster? Let's find that poster. Where's that poster? Look at all these. She's got big hair. Good hair. Good hair on Farrah Fawcett. Let's come on. Show me the poster. Anyway, we're putting her in heaven. Farrah Fawcett. She goes to heaven. This next one's not going to be quite as easy. Dead on this day in 2009, Michael Jackson. I was going to say for just pure contribution to the good time vibe of the universe while he was a part of it, you almost got to put him in. Party music. Michael Jackson was party music. Michael Jackson was good time. You're having good times. You're listening to Michael Jackson. He, where there was nothing, contributed that to everybody's lives. That I don't believe is discountable. And he might have molested a bunch of kids too. So, that's now I got to weigh that. This all comes down to what you think. What do I think? Do I think Michael Jackson molested children? Be honest with you about this. I do not. I don't think he molested children. Do I think Michael Jackson was routinely highly inappropriate with children? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But here's what I think happened with Michael Jackson. I think that Michael Jackson created this bubble world for him where he was so important. I mean, I know we look at Taylor Swift, maybe we look at Beyonce, I don't know who else we look at in this era, and we think, oh my God, look at how big and popular and famous they are. Michael Jackson was bigger. Michael Jackson was bigger. Michael Jackson was just like he was like God on earth. There was like who are the most famous people on the planet? Who God is number one, and then Michael Jackson is two. Everybody knew who Michael Jackson was. And because of this, he created this world. And I think he was just a child. I think he was just I think he was a weirdo. Am I convinced that he derived sexual pleasure from engaging with children? That I don't know. Do I think that he wanted to run around in pajamas with a bunch of 8-year-olds all the time because he just wanted to be a little child again because somehow his childhood was stolen from him? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I really think that we need to do something that we do not ever do here on the Dead Section. Now, if you are convinced, if you are absolutely convinced that he's one of the worst child rapists in the history of, if you're convinced, then you think I'm nuts. But I'm putting Michael Jackson in purgatory. So he's going. He's going to purgatory. Okay. He's going to sit there until we can all look, this is my decision. His music is great. Separate the art from the artist. Okay, so now I guess the question would be, well, what about you agree that he's inappropriate with children? I go, yes, I do. I agree he's inappropriate with children. It is inappropriate for a grown man to spend that much time. However, there are moving parts to this particular grown man. This is not a regular grown man. This is not, the local plumber who, likes to run around, likes to host sleepovers for the neighborhood. No, that's not this is a weird, bizarre rock star man, I'm talking myself out of it. The more I'm just like working through this, the parents, first of all, the parents are the ones who should be in jail because although I do not know that child of theirs was molested or, their children, although I do not know that actually happened, here's what I know. It might have, and you parents should have known that it might have before you let him go run around and have a pajama party with Michael Jackson. But I mean, if you're asking me about Michael Jackson, do I think he was a pedophile? No, I don't. I don't think he was all that sexual minded. I don't think that he was really a sexual person. And I understand that because sometimes I think that I'm not very sexual. I'm not a very sexual person. No, I am not comparing myself sexually to Michael Jackson. I'm just saying, Michael Jackson could have had a dating list like nobody else. Like Derek, he would have been better than Derek Jeter. Michael Jackson could have dated anybody between 1980 and 1995. Anybody. Probably even further into that. But I'm just saying, like, during his, and he didn't have that. Webster. It's like, what did Michael do? He dated Webster, right? I don't know, man. All right, you know what? We're gonna put him. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna put him in hell. I moved him out of purgatory. I worked my way into it. Although I am not sold on the idea that he molested those children. All right, Michael Jackson. There you go. That's gonna do it. Let's see here. Adam's got a theory on Michael. He says, I liked MJ, the music, a lot. He says he has a suspended adolescence because of his family circumstances. Okay. So we're on the same kind of thing. So this explains why he did what he did. It doesn't justify why he did what he, or wait, yeah, no, it doesn't. In other words, okay, so we know why he did what he did. Should he be punished for it still? And I think yes. I think for something like this, yeah. So I don't know that necessarily absolves you, because I too believe that he had some sort of suspended, broken maturity. There was something happening with him that he truly enjoyed a Friday night of ice cream sundaes, movies, and pillow fights. Like that's I think he truly enjoyed that. And that would suggest to me that there's something wrong with him. To what degree is wrong with him? That's where I don't know. Is he a monstrous child molester who, I don't know. I don't know. I know that there is a lot of money in them there hills for potential victims out there if they want to keep this going. Look at me victim blaming. I'm not victim blaming. I'm just saying it's weird. That's all. It's weird. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Once again, today's executive producer of the show is nobody. That's right. Nobody. Every day, the big tipper from the previous day's show becomes the executive producer of the next day's show. Today, we got nobody, but that's okay, because I feel strongly that tomorrow we will have somebody. If you want to support this show with a little monetary tip, drop it in the Cash App or the Venmo. Thank you so much. Let's move on to quarter four now. This is all the stuff that people are talking about. What's happening in the news? Anything happen? You guys got the TV behind you. So when you're staring at my stupid face, you're like looking at what's happening behind me as well. I'm not. At this point in the game, you guys are far more prepped up on what's happening in the moment than I am. You've been watching the CNN. CNN. I need a drink. How hot was Farrah Fawcett? How hot was she? I don't think she's hotter than Sydney Sweeney. I was thinking that when I found that it was Farrah Fawcett, it was the anniversary of her passing today. I went, hey, do we have a Farrah Fawcett now? Who would be the closest thing in this moment, the hot factor? And I don't mean hot like, oh, sexy hot. I mean hot like freaking bankable, like Hollywood bankable. And also attractive, because that's the genre we're talking about here. Who is the new Farrah Fawcett? You would probably have to be attractive if you were going to be the new Farrah Fawcett. So that's where I came down with currently, right now, Sydney Sweeney in her career and in her daily life is probably experiencing a lot of the same things that Farrah Fawcett did around, 1981, something like that. But Sydney Sweeney, I think, is much prettier. There's something more alluring about Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney's got a much larger chest. That's something that men find sexy. Oh, listen to me. I'm a misogynist. No, men like boobs. Sorry. Don't mean to be a misogynist about it. Men like boobs. It's a fact. So that might be why I think Sydney Sweeney is prettier than Farrah Fawcett. Anyway, moving, and also Sydney Sweeney's got like these, like, there's something interesting. Like Farrah Fawcett is almost too perfect. Like you look at Farrah Fawcett and you're like, oh, so there's like nothing interesting. It's just, you just created everything to perfection. The eyes are perfect, the cheekbones are perfect, the nose is perfect, the angle, the hair, the smile, the pout, the lips, everything is just perfect. Sydney Sweeney is like, everything is perfect, but then they're like, let me try something with the eyes. And they got like these really big, almost too large for her head eyes. And guess what? They work. It works. Makes Sydney Sweeney, I think, infinitely more attractive than Farrah Fawcett. Farrah Fawcett was big. Also in that time, now that I'm thinking about it, I thought Bo Derek was way more attractive than Farrah Fawcett. Bo Derek was like the one. Woo, Bo Derek. Oh my God. Farrah Fawcett had been around for a while, but when I saw Farrah Fawcett, or when I saw Bo Derek, I'm like 10. I'm like, what? That was interesting to me. All right, let's get into all the hot topics, everything that's happening in the world. Let's talk about it. This is the day as it's unfolding before our very eyes. Wait. Barty says, Corey Feldman says he was molested by everyone but Michael. Yeah. That's the story you'd put out there because that would be the interesting one. That would be the one that makes you go, huh? Corey Feldman just talking about being molested. That's like, yeah, no big deal. But wait, but not Michael. See, that's how the story got sold because you tag it at the end with. But Michael didn't do it. That's interesting. Now it's interesting. What do we got here? All right, let's talk about what's happening in the world today. It is the 25th day of June 25th. It's hot out. Okay, we'll start with this. It's hot out. Here we go. This is the weather. We start the show with it because it affects all of us. So let's see here. The weather currently 95 degrees. Humidity makes today's high feel like 110. Oh, good. So we've got that to look forward to. Again, I went early this morning to walk the dog. We go out at like 8:30 every morning, walk out the front door, start walking the dog. Boom. I walked around the block. I did about, maybe a half mile to walk around the entire block, our little thing. So I did like maybe a half mile walk this morning with the dog. And I came back in and I needed a shower. I was soaking wet. 8:30 this morning, you wake up. I woke up. I was sleeping in an air-conditioned room. I was dry. I put my clothes on. I walked the dog. I came back in soaking wet. This humidity sucks. It's really hot. Although it's not that actual hot. It's just that the humidity makes it feel much hotter. So, God, it's gross. All right, that's enough. All right, moving on. Other big story today, Julian Assange. He's finally reached a deal with the United States government. We've been keeping him pinned up like a rat in a basement for the past 14 years. He's the guy that created WikiLeaks. I don't know what WikiLeaks is. Here's the deal. I didn't know what WikiLeaks was back then. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about WikiLeaks. I'm like, you mean Wikipedia? I know what Wiki. And they're like, no, it's different. I'm like, so Wiki is a thing. WAKI, that's a thing. I didn't know. I don't know what a wiki is, but I just thought it was like the first 4 letters in Wikipedia. It turns out it means something. WikiLeaks is what this guy, Julian Assange, was famous for. WikiLeaks was a website back in 2000s. Back then, what they did was they went and they researched and got classified documents and they made them public to anybody who wants to look all over these here internets, including the enemies of the United States. WikiLeaks, it was about freedom of the press. It was about the people have a right to know. And governments were like, no, the people do not have a right to know, to which I actually agree with. I think it's just absolutely stupid, the argument. Look, I went to journalism school. I love the First Amendment. But the very idea that the rank and file people on the street should know absolutely everything that our military is planning in behalf of our defense, right? That the average person on the street, no, you can't effectively run a military or protect a nation or a way of life when every little decision you're going to make is going to be countered by somebody on the street going, no, you can't. So, yeah, I have a problem with WikiLeaks. Oh, but you're supposed to be Mr. Journalistic integrity. Well, I do. And I think that the integrity goes both ways. The journalist has to look at what they possess and decide whether or not if it's in the best public interest to make this public. That is a very important job of the journalist. This Julian Assange dude was just looking for clicks. He's like, oh, what could I throw out there? He didn't give a fuck about the lives of people who would be endangered. He didn't give a crap about the greater effects of all of this, like what life was on the ground in the places that he was reporting on. He was reporting, he more famously got involved with the Chelsea Manning deal. Chelsea Manning gave him, I believe it's where the videos of the Black Hawk helicopter killing 11 people in Afghanistan, 2 of which turned out to be Reuters journalists. So we saw the video of this. It's went around. It's still on YouTube today. So that is what Julian Assange made public. The United States government didn't like him doing this, and so whatever. I don't know. I don't know enough about military strategy. I live in America. It's a representative democracy, so that I don't have to learn about really complicated global military strategy. I have someone in this representative democracy who represents me in this field because I have no business. So yes, I trust the institutions. Do I still want to keep a close eye? Yeah. Do I think that everything needs to be made public? No, of course not. We've got to run this country, and we've got to run and protect ourselves and utilize our defenses with a certain degree of secrecy. You're a fool if you think that everything should be workshopped. Let's put every move, let's put every military action that occurs, that we do, black ops, covert ops. Or are you saying we shouldn't do black ops and covert ops? Is that what you're saying? Okay, stupid, move right along, because that's how the world works. We do these things because we don't want to land 10,000 troops on anybody's beach ever again. The world works in very scary, very dark ways. If you've got a problem with that, then bury your head in the sand and move on. Let the people who are willing to handle this shit handle that shit and quit complaining. So I guess, yeah, I got a problem with Julian Assange. Anyway, the United States government has had a problem with him for these many years, and he's been holed up in first the Ecuadorian embassy. The United States put out a hit on him. And they convicted him or something, not indicted him, and they wanted him, and they were going to put him on trial here in the United States. And at that point, he moved into the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and he lived there for a whole bunch of years, man. This is where he was banging Pam Anderson. Pam Anderson started showing up and coming out in the middle of the hours, and the London newspapers were like, Pam Anderson leaves with her hair mussed up. She was banging Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy. Something got squirrely with Ecuador, and Ecuador was like, you got to go. Probably having to do with banging Pam Anderson. I don't know, but that's just me. Ecuador says you got to get out. And the British government at that point went, hey, now we're going to hold you in prison for these charges about. So he was also, not only did he get on the wrong side of the United States government for this WikiLeaks thing, but the Swedish government wanted him on 9 rapes. Yeah. Here's what he was doing. When he was free, he was going around to all of these, fancy European universities, and he was giving these rabble-rouser speeches, and all of these co-eds were like, oh, you're so interesting. And he was date raping all of them, all across Europe. Every college, there's a girl yeah. So he had that. So Sweden wanted to talk to him about that. So while he was in the Ecuadorian embassy, he was safe from all that. But they kicked him out. So as soon as they kicked him out, Brits, they grabbed him on behalf of the Swedes, and then they put him in jail. And I don't know, I kind of lost track of him from that point. I think he was moved around, whatever. Anyway, here's what's happening now. All of this time, all of this nonsense is because he was afraid of being turned over to the United States. And the United States apparently has worked out a deal. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange's plane leaves Bangkok on his way to a U.S. court and later freedom. There's a picture of a plane. We don't need to see it. Here's the story. A plane carrying WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange departed Bangkok after refueling Tuesday, taking him to Saipan to enter a deal with the United States government that will free him and resolve the long legal case over the publication of classified documents. The chartered flight from London that Assange's wife, Stella, confirmed was carrying her husband left Don Mueang International Airport, according to Flight Radar 24. Oh, look at that. Flight Radar 24 getting some love. It's one of my favorites. I love Flight Radar 24. He's expected to play. Here's the deal. Julian Assange is expected to plead guilty to an Espionage Act charge of conspiring to unlawfully obtain and disseminate classified national defense information. This according to the U.S. Justice Department. What else do we have here? Assange is expected to return to his home country of Australia after his plea and his sentencing. The hearing is taking place in Saipan because of Assange's opposition to traveling to the continental U.S. and the court's proximity to Australia. Also, it's a U.S. court, like Saipan or wherever this place is where they're doing this. This is like, for some reason, it's like somehow this little land or this building is considered U.S. land. I don't know what it is, a protectorate, whatever. I don't know. You know how these things are. So there you have it. Julian Assange, he's free to rape his way across. I totally believe the rapey stories because I read a whole bunch of them. I read a whole bunch of all the reports and all that stuff. And the question after you read the rapey stories, the question is, do you think he would do this? And I'm like, yeah, totally. He would go to these colleges and he'd hold these like really well-attended speeches and all of these, for some reason, the girls liked him. He had the Anderson Cooper silver hair and he wore the suits and he looked very impressive. And 19, 20-year-old co-eds at, Stockholm State, they were throwing themselves at him. Was he taking advantage of this? Absolutely, I believe he was. He seems like a bit of a scumbag. He's the guy that had Pam Anderson coming and going. He's obviously a sexual animal. So the question is, do I believe that he would, bang a co-ed at a college, promise to call her and then leave and then she gets mad? Yes. But do I also believe that he would maybe get a little bit aggressive after doing this a couple of nights in a row? I do. I think he's a scumbag. I don't think he has any moral center. I think he's a showman. So there you have it. Julian Assange, he's back in the world. By the way, he was sentenced to 5 years. 5 years is what the United States wants. Well, 5 years is going to accept the time that he's already served in a British jail, so he's not doing any time. It's not going to be any time for him. Kenya, some crazy stuff is going on in Kenya, and this is all about timing, boy. I'll tell you, the people in Kenya are revolting against the government. There's a they're a democracy. And what we're seeing is what happens when the government, despite the fact that it's a democracy, does something that is so crazy. The government is like basically, I don't know exactly what it is, but just to give you an idea of the ballpark that it's in, like imagine if the government suddenly said, we're going to tax 95% of your income, like something like that, something that crazy. That's not what I'm saying is happening in Kenya. It's much more complicated than that. But anyway, it's the government is doing something that people are like, are you fucking nuts? We are not going to stand for that. So they're basically attacking all of the important buildings in Kenya. Now, why is this about timing? Why is this a big problem for the people in Kenya? So remember the trouble? Hey, asshole. Yeah, that's the dog. She decided she was going to get up and move, but she wasn't going to get up and move like a lady. She's going to get up and move like a pig. She tried to roll her way out of the Now look at the camera. Wreck. There we go. Now it's all sideways. Good one, dog. What? Dog, you broke the camera. Oh, I'm so mad at you. Ah! What? Guys, we got a camera issue. Hold on. See what happens with unauthorized movements? See, now I got the window. I don't want the window in there. All right, I guess that'll have to do. No, I don't love it. Make it a little closer. All right, maybe that's better. Oh, people. Now I'm barely on camera. There we go. Try it like that. So the problem with Kenya now, remember, the people are rising up and they're attacking the police stations and they're attacking the government buildings and they're attacking the parliament in Kenya. They're probably going to overthrow the government. The president isn't even there. The president of Kenya is at some like conference of African leaders like 500 miles away in, the Sudan. I don't know. I'm trying to name another country in Africa that's kind of in there. I don't know. Nigeria, is that still a country? The problem with Africa is that they change their countries' names all the time. Incoming, probably going to change the name of Kenya because we're probably going to get a new government. Anyway, all hell is breaking loose there. And why is this a problem? It's because a couple of months ago now at this point, do you remember when Haiti erupted? Do you remember when Haiti is still like being run by street gangs. The government of Haiti, the president of Haiti was forced to resign because street gangs rose up to depose whatever regime was in charge there in Haiti. That sucks. Dog. Oh, sorry, the camera. I don't like where the camera is. Is that better? Maybe it is. So when that happened in Haiti, the Nigerian government, see, Haiti is a little bit close to us for comfort. So when the problems in Haiti began, the United States government was like, okay, we can't send any troops, but maybe we could twist a few arms among people who owe us something and they'll send all of their troops. Well, that turned out to be Kenya. So the United States made Kenya send their entire national police force to Haiti to help save the Haiti regime. And guess what? They're still there. So now that the people in Kenya are rising up and attacking everything, there ain't no military or police to stop them. They're all in Haiti, helping Haiti's situation. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? That's life is fun. I'm sorry. There's a lot going on here. I'm suddenly very confused. I don't like how my camera is. We're going to have to muscle through for the rest of the show. Let's just put it more on like that. The dog knocked the camera, knocked it loose, because instead of getting up like a good lady dog, instead of getting up and moving the way she came in, she decided to just roll on her belly and spread out her. Then she knocked the camera. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. Oh, yeah, I'm going to milk this. I'm going to wait until I'm absolutely comfortable with the setup before I continue. Hi, Frankie. Frankie Smith's in the chat room. All right. Should we begin again? I need a drink. We got a lot more to get into, too, by the way. There's a whole bunch of stuff. God, she's butt licking. Seriously, stop it. Hey, 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 hey. The dog is licking her butt. You got to stop it. Hey, look at me. Hey, hey, look at me. Hey, come on. Come on. No, don't lick. I got to get her out of the room. All right, I'll be right back. I got to get her out of the room. I can't have her butt licking ways in here. I'll be right back. Hold on. Be right back. I got you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But you know what? You people should guess what I was just talking about there. I was, you know what's ironic about that? I was just ranting about how I didn't have any sound. How I should have left the sound on when I went to try and remove the dog for butt licking. The dog is butt licking. And what I did was I wanted there to be no, I wanted to try and get her. So I turned off. I should have left the sound on because you should have heard what happened. She gave me some shit and it should have been, yeah, you. Yeah, you, oh God. So the dog's been licking her butt and the noise makes me sick. And the noise is basically this. And it's constant and it's disgusting and it's making me lose my mind. So I decided that I was going to just remove her from the studio. She was going to be gone. I don't care if she cries outside the door. I would rather listen to her plaintive cries from outside the door than her lathering up her butthole with her tongue. I can't. I love dogs, but all right, she's about 70 pounds of pure muscle. She's just all muscle. She doesn't have much hair. She's not a hairy dog. She has hair that is very much like, it doesn't get wet, How about that? Her hair doesn't get wet. She's a swamp dog. She's designed to be able to swamp and move through. So basically, I run over to her side. I pick her up. I want to do it quick. I want to move her out and put her in the hallway. I reach under. I grab her. Again, about 70 pounds of muscle. Except what I forgot was the reason she's being kicked out is because she is licking herself all over. So I just basically scooped up and tried to carry a seal. She was all wet with her own spit and it got all over my arms and I just dropped her. So she's still here. And I swear to God, if you keep licking your butt, she's not licking her butt right now. So all is good. Oh, you guys, it was so disgusting. It was so, and that's why I wish I had left the mics on. I should have left the mics on. Barney says, I'm having my yard sprayed for fleas and have to let my dogs in the house. So I have 100 pounds of mutt hound trying to climb in my lap. That's what we like, though. As long as that 100 pounds of mutt hound isn't all lathered up with its own tongue. Oh, it's so gross, man. Because this dog, CeeLo, she's a hooly bully. She's a Catahoula bulldog mix. CeeLo is very, very cuddly. She's very loving. She's big and she's not soft and cuddlyable. She's, like cuddling Lou Ferrigno in 1999. But she still wants she still wants the companionship. So what she'll do every night, she does this every night, and I have a stick that I use that I keep by the bed that I'm like, nope. She will lay on the floor. She will lick herself. She will get herself all slick, and then she'll decide to try and climb on top of me into the bed and lay there on top of me while she's all slick. I have to grab the stick and be like, no, you get back. She's not allowed in the bed for at least a good 20 minutes after she licks. I feel like we should get back into the show, don't you? Why not? All right, let's get started. So Kenya, we talked about Kenya, right? We moved on from that. Kenya, they're having problems and their entire defense system is in Haiti because the United States told Kenya a couple months ago, hey, we need this to stop in Haiti, but we can't do it ourselves. So we're going to make you guys do it. Because I don't know, we give them corn or something. I don't know why, but Kenya did what we said. And so Kenya sent their entire police force. They sent their national police force and their best military units. And they're all over there in Haiti trying to get Haiti settled. And while they're over there in Haiti getting Haiti settled, Kenya, their own country that they've left unprotected, is now being attacked from within. That's what's happening there. Debate week. That's where we are. Debate week. Let's talk about debate week. Okay, CNN, very excited. This is going to be a big, big, big moment for CNN. Hey, who's not excited? I am. It's not going to happen. I've been telling you it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There's no way. Look, okay. So at some point, it's not going to happen. Now, look, obviously, I am not captain of the universe. There's a chance it might. Probably won't. Why would it? I don't understand why it would. I do not understand why the Trump camp would show up and give CNN the biggest economic and just ratings boost that they've had in 10 years, because that's what this is going to be for them. It's going to be huge for CNN. Why would Trump do that? Why would he want to do that? That's just from the petty standpoint of life. He could be like, yeah, I'm going to screw him at the last minute, which I think is really possible. I think it really is. I think that he could screw him at the last minute and then maybe pop up on, Fox News or something. Although I guess he's not friendly with them anymore. He'll screw them at the last minute and then go on Twitter. Why not? That's how everybody does it. I don't think the debate's going to happen. I've been saying that. So, but there we are. Do I hope it does? Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. Holy cow, man. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. These two guys, no crowd, very important. So we'll go over some of the rules here, some of the things that we can expect when this debate doesn't happen. But if in a fantasy world it does happen, here's what we can expect. We can expect two. We can expect two moderators. CNN's Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. Jake Tapper. I really dislike Jake Tapper. He just seems like such a punk. He just seems like such a... I wouldn't know how else to describe him. He just seems like a punk. He seems like a rich kid. He seems like a soft rich kid who has money and position and has a certain social standing. And so what he does is he seems to come across with this sort of faux tough guy thing sometimes. Like, I'll give you an example. Like Chris Cuomo. Like sometimes, he turns into kind of a tough guy. You kind of get like this kind of tough guy kind of thing. Like he's not afraid to back. Chris Cuomo really is a tough guy. Oh, I know it. No, he really is. You ever seen him? You ever seen him without a shirt on? First of all, he's fucking ripped like Arnold. He's like jacked. Then he's like a jiu-jitsu black belt and has been for like 20 years. And he's a Cuomo. Those, Mario came from the streets. They're not like second, third, fourth generation softy like I imagine the Tapper family is. I don't know. I don't like Jake Tapper. He seems like a silver spoon. Seems like a silver spoon who probably is a jerk. Anyway, he seems like a jerk. He just seems like a jerk. Like if you met Jake Tapper in a bar, he's a bad guy from a John Hughes film. How's that? He's the bad kid. He's the rich kid asshole named Blaine from a John Hughes film. That's who Jake Tapper is to me. Okay, so please. So that's the one guy that Trump's going to have to deal with. The other person up there with him is going to be Dana Bash because CNN, they couldn't just put the second person up there that they had to make sure it was a woman. And they went with Dana Bash. And guess what? Fine with that. I like Dana Bash. I like Dana. Dana's cool. Jake Tapper's going to suck. Like, Jake Tapper's going to be like, man, Mr. Penny. He's going to be all about, I need to remember that someday in 100 years, this will be in a museum. He's going to be all that. Dana Bash is actually going to be like, Dana Bash is a good interviewer. Dana Bash does a lot of that interview stuff for CNN where she gets like, she's real comfortable and she like gets people in, like, especially Dana Bash always gets like politicians who like congressmen. She always gets congressmen who think she's a little old girl, like she's good at like making old men say stupid things. That's what I've often noticed about Dana Bash, that she's good. So I have no problem with Dana Bash. Tapper's a D-bag, but whatever. All right, so CNN is also, it's going to be an empty room, yo. It's going to be an empty room. The CNN debate on Thursday night between Biden and Trump. It's just going to be Biden and Trump. And Tapper and Bash, but you know what I mean? It's just going to be that. It's not going to be a whole bunch of people. I just want to say, Mr. President, that I thank you for making life worth living. It's going to be none of that bullshit. After everything that they say, and this is the most important part, and this is why I really want to see this, because honestly, if it was different than this, I would have half the interest in it. Trump plays to crowds. I don't want Trump to be able to play to a crowd. I want Trump to have to talk to Joe Biden. I want Trump to have to answer his singular charges and not be amped by, the reaction of the crowd. When Trump says something, the crowd goes, "Wow!" or whatever, like is the case in many town hall settings. And actually, they did crowds with a couple of debates last year. Not this time. I just want these two guys going at it. Mute button. CNN's going to have a mute button. Now, why is this? This is like CNN. You're so stupid. CNN, you don't know what you're doing. Okay, you know what? Fine. I'm not going to overreact to the mute button. CNN, if you're going to have a mute button, fine. You've released that it's going to be there. Here would be my advice. Unplug it. Unplug it. Yet for all the people who are demanding something like this, you've told them that it's there. Now unplug the fucking mute button, because both of these dudes are getting ready to run in the most divisive presidential election that this country has probably ever seen. And you know why it's divisive? Not because we're so in love with these candidates. It's divisive because they both suck. Okay, so if they're both going to be absolute garbage, CNN, we, the great unwashed, the American public, we should be able to just sit and see how these two guys react when trapped in an elevator. That's the experience that I want to see on Thursday. I want to see two old assholes stuck in an elevator together. I want to see what they talk about. I want to see who comes out on top. I want to see who looks better. Who's the asshole here? Who's the nice guy? Who's the asshole? Who's the person that's the big phony? That's what I want to see. And I want to see that free of any audience. I want to see that free of any mute buttons. And besides, look here, let's not get all twisted about the mute button. There's a bunch of people who are upset about it. But honestly, anybody worried about Trump not being heard? I'm not. We're going to hear him. Because let's be honest, the mute button is for Trump. Why do they got it for Trump? Because Trump's the one more likely to need the mute button. Biden's an old school, boring politician. Trump looks so good and so interesting to so many people because of the way he reflects on the old school politician. He's completely different. He is not he's not an accurate reflection of what we expect in our politicians. Trump is a one-off. He went the other direction. And that's why the mute button will be needed for him and not for Biden. We expect Biden to not at some point swear, right? I expect to hear Trump swear. I expect Trump to say shit, damn, hell. Trump is going to say a cuss word that we do not typically hear doing presidential debates. He will. He always does. You know who won't? Biden. And you know why I can say that? Because he's not interesting. Because he's just an old school robot politician. Folks, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you this is how I'm going to come out. I don't know what I'm saying. This is all written for me. That's what we're going to get from him. And we're going to get from Trump. We're going to get, what am I doing here? This is so stupid. And what do you think people are going to react to? People are going to react to that. People are going to react to so don't mute him. Don't mute him. Again, I think that this is all just a nonsense waste of time for us to even be doing it here. Because it is not going to happen. The debate is not going to happen. Trump's not going to show up. Now, my next party trick, because I've already predicted it's not going to happen. When will we find out it's not going to happen? Huh? Is this going to be like the day before? Is it going to be like a kindly backing out where it will give CNN a little bit of time to maybe come up with something else? Or is it going to be like he just doesn't show and there's like an empty podium there, right? So which is it going to be? I believe we're going to start to hear rumors that Trump is having second thoughts when we wake up Thursday. Because he's a showman. He knows what he's doing. This has got to control and dominate the news cycle, and it's got to do it from the Today Show all the way to the 11th hour on MSNBC. He's got to control, and that's how he does it. So I believe that when we do this show on Thursday, so that's 48 hours from today, we do the show on Thursday, one of my trending topics will be, Trump says he's not going to show. You watch. But I really hope he does. Because I think this is a really good and a very important debate. I mean, all kidding aside, is it going to be entertaining? Yeah. But it's also something I think that's important. I think we need to see these two clowns. We need to see these two guys. This is for many of us, it's a lesser of two evils. And so we just got to look at this. We got to see, is Biden Is Biden going to be a vegetable, and is Trump going to be an obvious con man? That's what we're looking for. If Biden is, how important is that going to be for people? If Biden is less vegetable than Trump is con man to people in America, this is going to be a really big moment. It's probably the only time we're ever going to see them together, talking, engaging. Oh, there's more debates. I don't know. Maybe not. There are no rules anymore. There has to be more debates. There's been debates since 1912. Oh, shut up. Stop with that. There doesn't have to be anything. This thing we're going to watch on Thursday night, this isn't even a real debate. We're calling it a debate. It's not sanctioned by the election. The FEC has been running, or federal, who is it? Is it the FEC? I don't know, whatever. Some organization that runs the debates, that have all of the rules for the debates, who've been doing all the rules for debates for like the past 50 years. They're not involved in this. This is different. This is made for TV. This is the new world. I don't know. Either one of these guys are going to be participating in any more debates after this. All right. Let's see. What else do we got? Okay, sorry, I was distracted by a blurb here about the debate. One of Trump's, I don't want to do that. Tesla, let's talk about Tesla, folks. Let's talk about my good friends, the cyber schmucks. That's what I call them. Got a lot of cyber schmucks here in the neighborhood. A couple of them. Fourth recall now. The fourth recall. That's right. If you just bought a Cybertruck, making you a cyber schmuck. If you just bought one like within the last year, you are now going to be getting your fourth recall notice. Yeah. See, I tell you this all the time. This is why never be an early adopter. Never go with the first wave. The first wave is never ready. The first wave comes out early because bankers and accountants demand that the marketplace must be served. So you rush shit to market. The first generation of everything is absolute garbage all the time. That's why I didn't have a cell phone until 2014. Or a smartphone, I should say. I had a cell phone, but I didn't have a smartphone until like 20. I was like, I don't trust these things. And I was too lazy to figure them out. I'm like, that looks complicated. I'll just keep my old phone in my texting. But anyway, the Cybertruck has now been recalled. 4 different recall notices on this thing. Tesla is recalling its futuristic new Cybertruck pickup for the 4th time to fix problems with trim pieces that can come loose from the front, and front windshield wipers that can fail. All right, so there's trim that is flying off the Tesla. And I guess that's a problem for other motorists. And then as I understand it, there is an issue with the windshield wipers receiving too much electricity and shorting out in the middle of use. So your windshield wipers will go out possibly in a Tesla if you're in a rainstorm, which is probably the worst time for your windshield wipers to go out, one would think. The new recall announced in documents posted Tuesday by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration affects more than 11,000 Cybertrucks. The company says in the document that the front windshield wiper motor controller can stop working because it's getting too much current. A wiper that fails can cut visibility, increasing the risk of crash. The Austin, Texas company says it knows of no crashes or injuries caused by the problem, but hey. Tesla will replace the wiper motor at no cost to owners who will be notified by letter on August 18th. So here's how that goes down. So you got your Cybertruck because you're a cyber schmuck and it's sitting in your driveway, and now you get a little piece of mail and it says, hey, your windshield wipers are going to go out. We're going to fix it for free, but oh yeah, you're going to probably have to take a day off work because we ain't going to give you a loaner or anything like that, and we ain't probably going to do it in and out the door in one day. It's going to be a couple of day process. 4th time. Tesla is turning into such a garbage company. In the other recall, a trim piece. So this is the most recent recall, not this one, not the windshield wiper recall. This one, the last one from 2 weeks ago. In the other recall, a trim piece along the truck bed was coming loose, and they would fly off, creating hazards for other motorists. Yeah, that would be a problem. The company will replace or rework the trim pieces so that they stay on here. Tesla says that the trim piece is installed with adhesive, and that may not have been done properly at the factory. That's unfortunate. Go out there and get your Cybertruck. You know how much shit is going to go wrong in the next couple of years of owning a Cybertruck? I mean, everything from, I don't know why the radio doesn't work now. I mean, it's just going to be like non-stop bullshit. And how much did you pay for it? 200 grand to have the ugliest car on the road and be nothing but inconvenienced by its lack of dependability? All right, that's fine. But whatever, you got a Cybertruck, and that's what makes you a cyber schmuck. What else do we have? Hey, how about Ed Henry? Let's talk a little bit about Ed Henry. Ed Henry, the CNN dude. Well, actually, no, I call him Ed Henry, the CNN dude, because that's how I remember he used to be on CNN. Ed Henry did CNN, and then he jumped over to Fox News, where he became their chief Washington correspondent. And then he hosted like Fox and Friends weekends, whatever. He became a big star over at Fox. And then he got weird with a chick, and they were like, you can't work here anymore. And Ed Henry was blown out. I think then he ended up over at Newsmax or something. He starts falling down the list of, so he's over there, he's over at Newsmax or something. And then he gets in trouble again for more of that. Yeah. So now he's at another place. Hold on. Where's he at now? Let's see here. Because now there's a new story about Ed Henry, the conservative newsman. Strippers, lewd comments, sexual memes, the wild HR complaint ride against Ed Henry. When Ed Henry, here, let me show you Ed Henry, just so you know who we're talking about. I think Ed Henry's kind of a D-bag too. He comes across like another one of these Martha's Vineyards in the summer boys. He seems like one of these dudes. No, thank you. So any opportunity to make fun of him, I'm going for. Here, this guy. You've seen this guy. Another punk bitch. All right, here we go. Ed Henry. So let's learn a little bit about what Ed Henry's into, shall we? Is that a good one? I don't know. That's like young Ed Henry. Okay, there you go. Yeah, let's look at this guy. Oh my God, look how wholesome he is. Holy cow. When Ed Henry decamped last August from Real America Voice to Newsmax. Oh, that's the Trump one. That's the one that's created for Trump and by Trump. Okay, so he goes from Fox. He gets HR'd out of Fox. He ends up at Real America's Voice, and now he's over at Newsmax. Okay, just trying to keep track of where Ed Henry is. Look at him. Good boy, good, honest, all-American. Look at him, apple pie face. When Ed Henry decamped last August from Real America's Voice to Newsmax, where he now serves as an anchor, staffers at his new network fumed over the hiring of a cable news veteran whose career has been mired by scandal. What wasn't known at the time was an internal complaint lodged against Henry at RAV, alleging he sent sexually explicit messages and made inappropriate comments to a young female staffer at the network. All right. So what did he do? Let's see what he did. All right. Basically, I'm going to cut this. Apparently, he hangs out with strippers a lot. He used to tweet about, send text to coworkers where he'd be at a strip club with a bunch of strippers on. Now, that is just, that is weird behavior. Okay. He like production assistants and stuff. Like, he would be at lunchtime. He would be out at some strip club, and he's taking pictures, and he's sending these texts to these girls. Karen Turk, I guess, that was his co-host on one of these shows. Hold on, who's the one that's doing this? I don't know. He's being accused of grooming and all kinds of shit. I'm trying to find the example here. Anyway, he's into freaky stuff. You can look it up. Ed Henry. There you go. That's just what I'm going to tell you. Just go look it up on your own. Ed Henry, conservative news guy. He's like into some real freaky stuff. And he can't hold a job because everywhere he goes. Here's what I think is the problem with him. I think he's a dork. Like Ed Henry, I think he's kind of like in my age group. I think he's either a couple of years older or a couple of years younger, one of those things. But Ed Henry probably cut his teeth in the 1990s. That was, kind of the shock jock era. There was a lot of stuff that you could do and that you thought was just casual and normal. You could, if you were a creep in the 1990s, like if you were a creepy guy, it was a great time for you because you could hug too long. You could do all of those weird things. So I think that's who Ed Henry is. And I think he was a dork. And I think that now he's got some power. He's a TV news anchor and people look up to him and people don't remember that he was the one who pooped in his pants sophomore year. You know what I mean? Like he's working through a lot of stuff. So he has to kind of overcompensate for that, like cheating on his, I guess he cheats on his wife. I guess he has affairs, behind his wife's back, which, whatever. Hey, maybe his wife's cool with it. Whatever. I honestly don't judge that kind of stuff. But when it's made public, it's kind of, I don't know that he would talk about that on the air because it certainly seems to go against the brand that he pushes, this, God, faith, life, conservative kind of thing. He hangs out in strip clubs. There's pictures. There's all kinds of pictures of him with strippers and stuff. But here's what I think. I think that I think that a lot of the girls that he was sending things to, when you're at that entry level, you're in your early 20s, 20, 21, 22, like that. And even the next level, which is producer, you're 24, 25, 26, and then after that, then you move up into the more the executive producers or on camera, stuff like that. Anyway, he was sending this stuff to that first level. And I think maybe he was just trying to be cool, but also thinking that he could date them. It's complicated. I don't want to think about it. You can read the story, but Ed Henry, he's kind of a creepo. Here's another guy who's kind of a creepo. Alex Jones is trending today. A story in the New York Times. This has been happening for the last couple of weeks. We've been prepared for it, but it's actually happening now. The liquidation of Alex Jones and Alex Jones's crazy InfoWars and all that stuff. This is in response to remember, $2 billion, he's got to pay the Sandy Hook families for doing one of just the most disturbingly cruel and unnecessary radio. It's not a stunt or a bit, just that why even here? Let's just start with here. Let's not go with what he said about the Sandy Hook and Sandy Hook family. Fuck all of that. Why would you make that incident something, fodder for you to just pull on? There's a whole bunch of stuff. Why? Leave it alone, man. Just dead kids. Just move it, leave it alone. And he didn't. He, and he got in trouble. He said stuff that wasn't true. Was cruel to the families, made accusations about who they really were and all this stuff. And the judge came down hard, and it's been appealed, and it's not working out for him. And he owes $2 billion to these families for the bullshit that he spread about the event that occurred at Sandy Hook. Tragedy, disgusting, sad, horrible story. Just why? Just what kind of a human piece of shit goes, yeah, man. And then, yeah. Even if you believe that stuff, there are other ways to. I don't know. It was terrible. A U.S. bankruptcy court trustee shut down conspiracy theorist Alex Jones's InfoWar media platform and will liquidate its assets to help pay a $1.5 billion judgment Jones owes for repeatedly calling the 22 Sandy Hook elementary school shooting a hoax. In an emergency motion filed late Sunday in Houston, trustee Christopher Murray indicated publicly for the very first time that he intends to conduct an orderly wind down of the operation of InfoWars and its parent company and liquidate its entire inventory. Murray, who was appointed by a federal judge to oversee the assets in Jones's personal bankruptcy case, did not give a timetable for the liquidation. Alex Jones has been saying on his web and radio show that he expects InfoWars to operate for a few more months before it's shut down because of the bankruptcy. He's also hoping that someone will buy it and hire him to run it. Yeah, well, maybe. I would think not, but man, oh man. Whew. Anyway, I mentioned this because a couple of weeks ago, there was a big story over the weekend where he was pretending like the FBI were coming to shut him down. They're at the door, man. And he was live streaming, and it was a Saturday night. And some of you were sharing it like, this is going down. And I'm like, no, it's not. So anyway, it wasn't. But boy, oh boy, for that weekend, about 3 weeks ago, whole lot of people were like, the FBI have raided Alex Jones's live stream. I mean, what are the odds that the FBI would kick in his door just as he's live streaming? What are they? Exactly. Boy, that's good for him. That's good. That's great timing to have the FBI bust you while you're live streaming. Doesn't get better than that. The monoliths are back. Remember the monoliths? Remember during the pandemic, we had a monolith that popped up. I think it was in Nevada, maybe Utah. Who cares? Aren't they the same? We're talking about an ashtray, right? It's just desert. What do we care? The monoliths, nobody could explain them until nobody could explain them. And then there's one guy going, yeah, it's probably just some dudes made it. Nobody could explain these. Nobody could. These monoliths, they just appeared in the desert. These shining 8-foot-tall glass structures that seem to be tethered to the Earth's core. They just showed up out of nowhere, and nobody has an explanation for it. Nobody. Hey, what? I think maybe an artist maybe just made it. Nobody has an explanation for it. I think it could be teenagers who have a shop class and maybe it's a prank. There will never be an explanation for the monolith. Remember the monoliths? I never understood that. People are like, and they don't know where they came from. And I go, I don't know, maybe a garage within 20 miles of there. You'll find some dudes who know how to work with metal plating and they can make cool shit. I had a stoner friend who was an artist. He could make all kinds of cool shit in his garage. So when I saw the monolith and people were like, during a pandemic, the aliens are trying to communicate with us. That was one. That was a big one. This is how they're going to communicate. Or during the pandemic, there's some dudes who got really bored and they came up with a thing. And it took off because monoliths began showing up all over the globe. It's the aliens. They're doing it. Really? Is it the aliens or is it Facebook? Is it someone in Prague saw that this had happened in Nevada and went, oh, it could be fun if I make something replica, yeah? And then he does it, and then, the tabloids of the world take it. Second monolith found outside Prague forest. And there's no explanation. Anyway, they're back. The monoliths are back because we're dumb. And it's been enough time, and why not? Hey, you know what? This is why Hollywood doesn't make anything new. The world, the country, we all love a remake. Shiny monolith removed from mountains outside Las Vegas. How it got there, still a mystery. That pickup truck right there. That's how it got there. It's still a mystery how it got there. I'm thinking maybe a flatbed truck could have been used. I'm thinking it's a mystery. Outside Las Vegas, how did it get there? It's a mystery. Again, I'm going to probably go with flatbed truck. It was the latest discovery in a series of mysterious columns that have popped up since 2020. Oh, shut up. That's not the thing. See, the way that's worded, you make it think it's been ongoing since 2020. No, it's not. There were a couple of weeks in 2020 during the pandemic when this was the thing. It's now 4.5 years later, and somebody's bringing it back. Stop acting like this is an epidemic that's been happening nonstop since 2020. I hate the media. A strange monolith found jutting out of rocks in a remote mountain range near Las Vegas has been taken down by authorities. How it got there is still unsolved. Okay. Again, another way to word that is cops haven't really asked anybody yet. Because what do you mean still unsolved? Why so cryptic? It's unsolved. like the great question, like the depths of the Marianas Trench. We shall never know what is truly hidden. Oh, what is that? Rebar? It's made with rebar and concrete. Oh, the mystery thickens. No, it doesn't. It's actually coming into. Isn't there a rebar and concrete place right down the? See, nobody's asking questions. Anyway, we're gonna move on. It came back. They found one. They removed it. The authorities get involved right away on these things. You know why? Because a bunch of idiots decide to turn it into a spot of pilgrimage. So, and they trample all over stuff. So they're removing this. They had to remove the other ones. If you were wondering, see, isn't this like the next question you go, well, what is it made of? Like, is it paper mache, or is it like some material that when you get close to it, you lose your eyesight because it's some alien technology? You know what I mean? What is it made of? That's the next question. They never answer that in the first paragraph of the news because they want you to keep reading. This one is made of plexiglass, rebar, and concrete. Oh, the mystery! We shall never fully understand the magic of the monolith. All we know is that it's made from plexiglass, apparently purchased from the Home Depot because the sticker was still on it, and rebar. But other than that, we shall never know the mysteries of the monolith. I hate people. We're so stupid. All right, let's keep going. What else do we have? Hey, something fun happening in Illinois. I think this is kind of a funny story. I clicked on it because it was trending, and then I read it, and then I fell into like a couple of comment sections, and then I found myself on a Facebook page, and apparently it's a big deal, and it's not a big deal. But there's like this place in Illinois, not too far from where I grows up, outside Chicago, probably about 50 miles outside Chicago. It's called Shabanaw. And it's like, there's a town of like Shabanaw, Illinois. It's like sort of in the direction of like DeKalb, Northern Illinois University. So it's out there. It's in the extended Chicago exurbia area. You know what I mean? If your aunt lived there, you wouldn't see her every week, but it's not like you'd only see him, every third Thanksgiving. No, it's drivable. Well, here's the thing. There's this like state park there, and it's like a real pretty thing. It's got a nice lake, and it's got all kinds of stuff, and it's the Shabanaw State Park or something like that. And the state of Illinois, I guess yesterday, they just signed papers, and they gave this entire area, the Shabanaw State Park, which was, a vacation destination. They gave the state park back to the Indians, Potawatomis. They gave it to the Potawatomis. Here's why. So that area was given to the Potawatomi tribe back in like 18 whatever. They signed a deal with the United States government, and they said, okay, this is going to be your area. This is going to be the Shabanaw area. And then the chief of the tribe there, the chief went to Kansas to visit some relatives. He had relatives in Kansas. Looking at funny Indians, they're just like us. So they go down there. He goes down there to visit relatives in Kansas. But you see, back then, that was like a year. That was like a year trip. I'm going to be gone for the next 18 months. I'm going to Kansas. So he goes to Kansas and disappears for a while. Now, while he's gone, the state of Illinois, they notice that the chief is gone, and the state of Illinois goes, let's take that land. And they did. And they went in and they basically slaughtered everybody, took their land, turned it in. Now it's a state park where a bunch of teenagers get high. That's what it is now. And then today they gave it back to the Indians. They're like, you guys can have it back. But isn't that a fun story about how they just waited for the chief who they'd signed the deal with to leave, and then as soon as he left, they just took it all back. Actually, I'm sorry, it didn't happen yet. Illinois may soon, that's it, return land to the U.S. that the U.S. stole from a prairie band of Potawatomis 175 years ago. Some 175 years after the U.S. government stole land from the chief of the prairie band of the Potawatomi Nation while he was away visiting relatives. That is so funny. That is they're just like us. Nothing ever changed. The 1829 treaty that Chief Chabanais, that's his name, that's why it's the Shabanaw area. Nothing ever changed. The 1829 treaty that Chief Chabanais signed with the U.S. government to preserve him a reservation in northern Illinois, not subsequent to accords of the 1830, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, he was given the land. And he signed it in 1829. But around 1848, the U.S. sold the land to white settlers while Shabana and his other tribal members were visiting family in Kansas. So they were like, we should sell that. Everybody wants to live in that land we gave away 30 years ago. We could sell it. Let's just sell that. Where is he? We should ask him about it. Let's go talk to him about selling some of that land. Sorry, he's gone. He's been in Kansas for the last year. Oh, really? All right, let's just sell the land out from under him. And that's what they did. And then the settlers moved there, and they had problems with Indians, and it was the Indians who were the bad guys. You know? So, that's how it was depicted in all those Western movies. It was the Indians who were the bad guys. I mean, I'm not saying that they were all good. I'm just saying. I honestly, objectively, I'm just saying. I know who the bad guys were in that. I know who lived there, and I don't care what John Wayne movie you're going to quote. I know what actually happened. Anyway, Illinois is looking to give that park back. So it's a state park. It's a stupid state park. You know what? They should give it back to them because right now, as a state park, nothing fun can happen there. It's a state parks. You can't have fun at state parks. There's no alcohol allowed. There's no nothing. Okay, so they've given this beautiful lake and this beautiful wooded area. They've given this all back to the Shabana Indians, the Potawatomis. Let's go. Northern Illinois Casino. Let's go. Let's put how about a casino? You will have the new Lake Geneva. People won't have to go up to Wisconsin. You kidding me? You put an Indian casino right there on that lake. Let's go. Anyway, Illinois giving land back to the Indians. Let's develop it. Again, because see, when it's something the state owns, it's like the lamest thing ever. No food after 6 p.m. You know, it's like rules and shit. But if the Indians own it, it can be like, come on down, see, you know what I mean? You can see bands. I'm going to go see Skinnerd at the Indian Casino in Shabana. See, that's how. So good. I think this is a good thing. And if you think it's a bad thing, why? Like, that's what I said. I told you I fell into some comment sections and everything. And it's just all these people like, I don't know why we got to give the land back. And I'm like, why do you care? It's not your land. You ever been there? You never been there. Why is this a fight that's been triggering you? Let the Indians have their land back. And then again, I'd sell them on the casino. I'd be like, it's going to be way more fun. Right now, it is an underused state park where you can't have any fun. Can't drink. It closes at like 6 o'clock. Let's move the Indians in there. Let's turn it into a party place. Here's an interesting conversation that we can have, but I don't know if I want to spend all that much time on this. So yeah, well, you know what? Maybe we'll save that. Maybe we will save that. I'm running out of time here on the show. I've got things to do and places to go. So we'll end it with this. It's summertime. Something that most of us here in the North Texas area are probably, especially those who have been here a number of years, we're all familiar with the Six Flags experience out there in Arlington. I wanted to show you guys this because apparently I'm not native born. And, when I was a little kid growing up, Six Flags Arlington was not my amusement park. My amusement park that I grew up with was Marriott's Great America, which is the same thing. It's the exact same thing. It's just it's in Chicago. And in fact, it's so much the same thing that it's now called Six Flags Great America because Six Flags just bought it and they just put their name on it. Anyway, that's where my experiences are. But apparently, something happened at Six Flags yesterday, Six Flags Arlington, that I guess has happened a time or two in the past. And what I love about this is, and it's so cool, and if you were one of those people who Six Flags is your childhood place, you can just look at this video. People are just looking at this video and they're saying stuff like, yeah, I know exactly where that is. I was standing there when like, you're so familiar with that place because of what it meant to you as a kid. I just thought that was kind of cool. Anyway, I don't know where this is, but apparently this is somewhere at Six Flags. This is like a water ride or something. And some stuff happened yesterday. Now it's 110 degrees or whatever the hell it is around here. There you go. Let's see what happened. Now, the reason I mention this is because this is kind of silly, and I don't know that anything terribly serious happened here, although it does look kind of scary. Apparently, 20 years ago, at this exact same spot, doing this exact same thing, people died. Like multiple people died at Six Flags. So that's why this went viral. It's happening again. I'm unfamiliar with it, but whoa, looks kind of crazy. So this is like what? This is the water ride? This is like some kind of, are they bunching? Are they supposed to be bunched up like that? Because they're bunching up. That doesn't look safe. Are they, unless they bunch up and then go over like a waterfall one at a time? I don't know what's happening here. And who is this gentleman? Who is this guy? This guy obviously works there. Okay. He seems to be like, is this a dock? Is this the end of the ride? Is that, I don't know what's happening here. Okay, so I don't know what is happening here. I don't know where, is this the end of the ride? Are they disembarking? Why are people falling in the water? This I know. You are not supposed to actually go swimming in the water of a water ride at a theme park. Let's see, figure out what's happening here again. All right. So why is this guy getting up? Are the boats over? Did they put too many people in the boats? Doesn't that seem like something that should have been checked out long before this point? So this person is going to try and get, all right, I'm just going to let it play out. Will you watch? Get up! Get the kid! The kid is right! Watch that kid thing again. That kid thing is pretty dramatic there for a couple of seconds. So the kid, the boat is now apparently too far for them to stay, but I guess the kid's mom and dad have already, they've left the boat. So now the kid is like, well, I'm going with my mom and dad, but I don't think the kid knows how to swim because it ain't working out well for, watch this kid right here. He gets himself in a situation. Get the kid. He does not know how to swim, that poor kid. That was ugly. Get the kid. Jesus Christ. Sweet Jesus. Maybe we should go. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh my God. All right, this ride's gonna be shut down for a while. So is this, I'm guessing, is this the beginning? Is this the launch of the ride? Were there too many in the boat? Let's try and watch this. Oh, actually, we'll let it finish. Where's your shoe? Oh, Lord. And a duck? Jesus, you wait for Okay, let's watch it one more time, and then I need you folks in the chat room to sort of educate me. I'm not familiar with what this is. I've been to Six Flags half a dozen times in Arlington. I mean, I do have a kid, so I've been there. But educate me on what exactly I'm looking at here. I think that's it. All right, this broad here, she's going for a ride, though. I think she wants to be with this family, but she's like, nah, I guess I'm just going for a ride. Did these people just panic at the last minute? Is that what this is? Was the ride getting ready to take off, and at the last minute, these people decided to panic that they didn't want, so they took it upon themselves to just leave the ride? Is that what we're looking at here? Get the kid! Jesus Christ. If so, this family sucks. This family sucks. You can't panic at the last minute. And then if one of you panics, you're like, okay, remember that time little Bobby panicked and he jumped off and he had to wait for us? You don't all panic. You don't all go. All right, there you go. Anyway, I can't beat old fun at the 100-degree Six Flags. All right, what's happening here? Let me see here. Anybody telling me? Shut the water jets off and everything starts drifting backwards. Looks like the end. These boats are hard to tip over. Well, yeah, I would imagine they would be impossible to tip over. They're kind of designed that way. You can't have these things tipping over. Boats are supposed to go left and right and up the conveyor belt. All right, I don't know what that's about. I just thought that was crazy, freaky video. Folks, that's going to do it. We are out of show. How'd you like it? Did you have a good time? We'll be back tomorrow. We've got more stuff coming for you tomorrow. Join us. It is the Rant. That's right. New name. Calling it the Rant now. I'm going to put that up there if you want to support this kind of talk radio, nonpartisan, non-political. We talk about from the left, right, middle, whatever. We don't care. We're just regular folks talking about the world as it unfurls. Is that a word? Unfurls? I don't think it is. Hold on. I mean, I say unfurls all the time. And every time I say it, I use it in the way that I think it should be used, but I don't know if it's real. Hold on. Unfurls. God, it is, and I use it right. Oh my goodness. Unveiling something from a folded state. Unfurl. I love it. Okay. I don't know how I got distracted on that. I think it's clear. This show is over. I love you. See you tomorrow at noon. Bye.